Hi, and welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. The following is so true regarding being narcissistically abused. We didn't have a voice. And I know that you, just like I have been through the terrible trauma of being silenced, invalidated, and abandoned when you did try to speak up. And that's what I want to dive deeply into today, explaining to you how we can change all of this, emerge from within with confidence and power, have a voice, speak up, and get our rights and needs valued and honoured, regardless of what certain people are or aren't doing. You may or may not have heard me talk about C.R.A.P, the fears of being criticised, rejected, abandoned, and punished. And for those of you who haven't, this is about the fears inside us that don't allow us to A, know what our rights are, B, voice them clearly and calmly, and C, make decisions that align with them and honour ourselves. Having the fears of C.R.A.P inside us is probably the biggest susceptibility we have to narcissistic abuse. Because as soon as we can't define and be in alignment with our values and truth, it means that we're going to be controlled by other people's values and truths, no matter how skewed they are. And in the case of narcissists, they are completely unhealthy and twisted. And without knowing why we're doing it, we hand our power away. When we're derailed with the fears of C.R.A.P, we don't back our inner being. This means when we get that inner gut twist that says wrong town, and we have a signal pushing us to say or do something, which means I really need to confront this, we shut down instead. We don't put our best foot forward, and we get locked down into experiencing the very fears that we were trying to avoid facing. So I want to go into each of these fears of C.R.A.P one at a time. The first, the fear of criticism, is the fear of being reprimanded, disapproved of, denounced. Then things step up a gear into the fear of rejection, which is the fear of being dismissed, pushed away, overlooked, excluded. Then the fear of abandonment is something else again. These are the fears of being neglected, left alone, let down, left behind, and deserted. And the fear of punishment is the culmination of all of these fears, coupled with the feelings of being powerless to stop what's hurting us, just as if one was a child overpowered by an adult, or lived in times when there were no personal rights to be had. Whilst experiencing the fear of punishment, we may have the heightened fear of criticism escalating to the terror of persecution. The fear of rejection could blow out to the fear of eviction or even elimination. And the fear of abandonment could become the terror of being left to die. All of these terrors become the terror of annihilation. And this may sound like I'm sensationalizing these fears, but those of you who've been narcissistically abused know I'm not exaggerating. The fears of C.R.A.P range from the feelings of being overlooked and deemed wrong and defective, all the way up to literal, primal, deep survival programs. Narcissists trigger this stuff powerfully. They tune into it, tap into it, and detonate it within us regularly. When we're in relationship with a narcissist, once the mask is fallen, we often experience invalidation, devaluing, and dehumanizing. The very fabric of our being is terrorized, and we find it impossible to assert our rights absolutely. The fear of C.R.A.P runs deep, deep, deep through many of our veins, our soul, and our spirit. I personally used to have a white hot fuzz come over me that felt like I couldn't even think straight, let alone speak up in certain incidences. I literally felt like every cell in my body was vibrating with the possible horror of annihilation. I know many of you who've been narcissistically abused have also felt like this, even at times before narcissistic abuse. And then you discovered in narcissistic abuse that when you did finally try to speak up, because things were so bad, the fear of staying became worse than the terror of speaking up, that you were punished horrifically. Let's face it, the narcissist's false self demands that you appease, worship, and fear it. And of course, when you tried to have your own thoughts, feelings, opinions, and rights, you were going to be punished. The narcissist brought up for you the deepest primal fears of persecution, fearing your elimination, and the terror of being left to die. Because the narcissist knew that to dismantle you and eliminate you as a threat to the narcissist's fragile identity's existence, that hitting you where it hurts the most would be the most effective way to make you powerless. So many of you have reported that you literally felt like you were going to die when experiencing and in the aftermath of narcissistic abuse. We all felt like that. And the reason why we felt like that is because all these human terrors lying dormant in our subconscious that we'd been trying to avoid by not speaking up were activated, came to life, and met our consciousness with the force of a hurricane. What did the narcissist punish you with? The very thing that was stuck in your craw that was, or still is, the biggest unresolved terror that you have in the C.R.A.P department. Or maybe you have more than one terrible unresolved terror stuck inside. Maybe you can relate to all of what I'm sharing with you today. I know for myself, all of the fears of C.R.A.P, criticism, rejection, abandonment, and punishment, they all applied, and they all kept me quiet and trying to keep the peace and play it safe. Yet with me, as the narcissist did with all of us, the narcissist works out what our C.R.A.P terrors are and then uses them to belt and burn us every time that we tried to have our own mind and a healthy autonomy, which is pushing you back down into submission and obedience and being under the control of the narcissist's false self again. So how does this get set up? Where do these terrors originally come from? I'm going deep today, down into the quantum, collective, and energetic truth. The history of human carnage at the hands of each other on this planet is extreme. Sadly, in many parts of the globe, brutal atrocities are still taking place. I believe collectively, all of us in varying degrees carry the trauma, the fractures of our very spirit of what humans are capable of doing to each other. We carry it through our veins. Women who worked with herbs and midwifery were drowned or burnt at the stake. Free thinkers were labelled as heretics and court-martialed and executed. Those who were accused, regardless of what they said to try to plead their innocence, may have been set upon by a group of frenzied, righteous people wanting blood as their vindication, and taking it in the way of stoning, hanging, or tearing people apart with galloping horses. That was the plight of people singled out for trying to assert autonomy amongst a system of demanded compliance that favoured few and damaged many. And there were people who simply by virtue of their skin colour or gender were attacked, brutalised, raped, or who became a cheap casualty in the greatest atrocity known to mankind, genocide. What has all this stuff caused? Unspeakable trauma to the collective spirit of humanity itself. Trauma trapped in our ancestors' beings that was then passed on down through the generations into our beings. Neuroscientists now prove epigenetically that the effects of trauma are inherited. And then those who do inherit the terror of C.R.A.P, the fears of speaking up, of having opinions, values and rights and asserting them, are then born into families where the parents embody trauma themselves and they have their own battles with crap, which means, one, they don't have the resources to healthily model for their children how to establish values and know they deserve to have rights, speak up for them and align with them. And two, because the parents had their voices and rights taken away from them, then they are very likely to strip their children of them also. Hurt people hurt people. The disease of crap gets passed on and on and on. Think about this. How rare is it for someone to know what their rights are and their values, be able to confront any conversation, ask questions to clarify and speak their truth without fear, whininess, justifications and guilt, or having to make themselves right and somebody else wrong, or not accepting somebody else's opinion, then being able to unconditionally, without the requirement of any particular outcome, hear what comes back at them, and then healthily ascertain whether or not that person or situation meets their values, and walk away and keep generating their own truth, the true life, if that person or situation isn't a match for them. Do you know anybody like this that's got the capability to do that? If you do know somebody like that, they're not from this earth. Well, actually, they can be from this earth, but they are no longer carrying the earthly traumas that we've all taken on. They either came from a family that was lucky enough to dodge those traumas of humanity, and I really think we're looking for a tribal community that's cut off from the rest of humanity and one that functions to even have that happen, or they are a product themselves of being internally released from humanity's trauma and they're living free of it. In stark contrast, this is the way that most Earthlings operate. I'll keep all my cards close to my chest. I won't tell the truth about how I'm feeling or what I need, and I'm going to try and work out what that other person is up to, what their motives are, and what's really going down, and then I'll make a decision about what I say. You see, humans don't trust each other, and the real reason why they don't trust each other is because they haven't gone quantum yet. They haven't realised their trauma. They haven't realised what's been going on in their trauma, and they haven't come out of the slumber of thinking that life happens from the outside in. Like so many of us before Thriver Recovery, they don't understand the total universal system of so within, so without. And they don't trust themselves. They haven't realised that when they become trauma and therefore fear-free, and just start showing up truthfully and honestly, you won't give a crap who tries to hit you with crap, because it all starts to roll like this. This is what happens. This is what you know. If you criticize my values and my truth, if you reject me, abandon me, or try to punish me, then we simply aren't a match, and that's fine. I'm already whole and healthy. I don't need anything from you to grant me myself. I'm only interested in merging with what and who creates more of what already is, not less. If you're not aligned, I'll take myself, my values, and my life to what and who is. Do you dream of being like this? Do you want to live like this? Well, I promise you, alien, angel, thriver, you will be. When you rescue and you revive your true self who's been buried under all of humanity's trauma. There is an incredible freedom, liberation and emancipation to be had when we focus on and start releasing the traumas of crap. And we can do that with the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program with C.R.A.P, because it reaches deep into your genetic past life and childhood traumas, not just the ones you've had now with the narcissist, all of the ones deep back in your DNA, and gets them up and out of your being And then you start waking up out of the illusions into the updated reality that your DNA just wasn't clicking into with embedded internal trauma going on. You realize this: you're not living in the times of being stoned, drawn and quartered, drowned or burnt as a result of being yourself anymore. We are in golden times, evolutionary times. We're in the times of the emergence of true self, where we can rise into the glory of knowing our power to create, be happy and fulfilled, and generate that with others, significantly our children and their future generations, simply by taking our focus off the outside and what everybody else is or isn't doing, and directing our attention within to clear ourselves of our internal trauma, so that we do have a voice, so that we can show up calmly, clearly and honestly, knowing we are lovable, worthy, whole, healthy and deserve more of the same. How will you be taken down from that place? How will you be abused? You can't be. A narcissist will never get with someone who is solid and whole, who knows their values and rights, and who will not accept being criticised, rejected, abandoned and punished. A narcissist can't continue harming and hurting a person who has no need to cling to and try to define themselves through what the narcissist promised to grant them, because they're a generative whole source of creating this for themselves now. With your trauma still having a life of its own within you, your worst fears will continue to manifest into your conscious reality until you've healed them from your subconscious and set yourself free from them. So I hope you can deeply understand that your inoculation to abusers and being aligned with your greatest life requires you getting out of the fears of crap, so that you can show up as your true, powerful, honest, confident, radiant, and self-generative self. And it's a deep desire of mine that this episode has resonated deeply with you, because it's a very important one. It's not just about us all personally, it's about all of humanity collectively. And I'd love you to share your comments and your questions with me about this by scrolling down and writing them below. Okay, so if you get it and you know that it's time to unleash your true self and your true life, I'd love to show you how myself and thousands of other thrivers in this community have achieved this. And it all starts by clicking the link at the top right of the video, where you can sign up to my free powerful healing resources, which includes a free 16-day recovery course, an invitation to a quantum healing workshop with me, a set of ebooks and lots more. And if you want to see more videos, make sure you like and subscribe so you get notified as soon as each new video is released. So until next time, keep smiling, keep healing, keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.